Hey guys, welcome. Good evening. Sorry about the delay in joining you guys. Welcome to another money space, of course, with me, Kalu Aja. Of course, on our space, we're talking money, economy, and finance. Real apologies, guys. We had a bit of a small housekeeping to take care of before we joined in here, but we're here, we're live, we're on YouTube, we are on Twitter. And we are talking, of course, money, the economy, and finance. This week, we're talking personal finance. Specifically, we're talking stock trading, right? So if you are not aware, the NGX is proposing, that's the key word, proposing new rules, right? That's going to take effect from, I don't know when it's going to take effect, but the new rules that are being proposed. And these rules are going to essentially they want to change how much volume can move the prices of stocks in Nigeria. So what we have currently right now is like a 5% price. If the stock goes up by, say, 5% and all that, it can go up by 5%. But what threshold of volume has to be tradable to allow the stock to go up and down? I think that's what the SEC wants to more or less not SEC, Nigerian Stock Exchange wants to get into play. All right, so let me do this real quick. I'm going to share on Twitter the link for the YouTube. Someone just asked me, doesn't have the link for Twitter. So I'm sharing that link real quick on Twitter for you guys because I have a lot of nice visuals. It's important to do the visualization so that way you can follow. I've broken it down. I've taken the actual policy that they intend to implement and I sort of broke it down for you stock by stock, volume by volume link. So you can see how this would affect you if you're a trader. And it's going to have a major effect, I think, on your individual trades and also on the index. So it's good to pay attention. Lumde is here. Lumde, fantastic. So you can give us your own take on this as well. All right, so we're doing no more small volume pumps and dumps, NGX new trading thresholds. Before we start, let me just, I've mentioned this many times, and I'm trying to say this without getting into trouble, but it was possible. And I'll give you a real story. Let me give you a real story. This is a real story. I won't get into it if I give you this story. There used to be a guy, former police, IG of police, and this guy was basically just buying stocks every single day. He wasn't buying based on fundamentals. He wasn't buying he wasn't borrowing the money. The money came from somewhere else. And he was just buying stocks and buying stocks and buying stocks, irrespective of the price, of the fundamentals, nothing. This stock just kept on going up in price. So if you're a stock trader, you look at the volume, you're going to be like, wow, this is going up in price. What's pushing it? Is it their annual results? Is it this? You can never basically say what's happening. But the stock price just keeps on going up and up and up and up and up. That distorts the market because the market is no longer following, should we say, we look at the fundamentals and say we want to price. It's no longer following that threshold, right? So that sort of distorts the market. For going to be up, or if it's going to because it's getting market share, it's just corruption. If I take money and I don't pay for that money, i.e., I stole that money, I can invest in any price that I want. I can buy any stock that I want. I don't care the entry price. I don't care the exit price. I'm just looking for a place to park funds. And that's what you then see in the market gets this index, to do your Naira cost average and all that kind of stuff. You guys then get the short end of the stick because you are buying based on fundamentals, but somebody else is buying just because he's corrupt and he has free cash and it's just throwing into the system, right? That's one part of it. The second part of it, and I'm going to get into my slides, but I want you guys to understand how the market works. When you give your broker an order to go to the market and buy a stock for you, what you are doing, you give the broker, you say, I want to buy, let's pick a stock. I want to buy 100 shares of, say, Kalu PLC. When you go to the floor of the exchange, Kalu PLC, right, is going to be on, that's what they call offer there's what they call bid, right? So like if I want to buy, I will go to the buy column and I'll see what is being offered to buy, right? So I'll look and I'll see, if for instance, if you have the Bamboo app, you see where they have the, let me look at the exact name that they call it there. You see where they show you all the trades that are for offer and that are for sale. So what the traders are doing is they are looking for the cheapest price of the stock to buy, right? So if you're on Bamboo, if you go to Pulse, right, you should see the stocks that are like available to buy and the stocks that are available to sell. You see what I'm saying? So when your trader goes to the market, what he's trying to do is to buy that Kalu PLC at the lowest price that's being offered to him. So if he sees that stock at say 99 naira, he will buy it. So there are different brokers offering him the stock to buy. So the lower one he sees what he's going to buy, right? On the flip side, if I want to sell my stock, I want to get the best price for my stock. So what do? I want to sell at the highest price. So if I go in and I see people that are, if there's a lot of demand to buy that Kalu PLC, I will then increase the price of my stock and offer it to the market because people will buy it. They want to buy at 100 naira, nobody sells at 100 naira. So if I sell it at maybe 110 naira, people will buy from me. So you see how it goes. It's a market. It's the same way you sell rice. You come to the market. If there's too much rice in the market, what do? You reduce the price of your rice. If there is no rice in the market and you want to buy rice, what do? You increase your offer, you increase the price you want to pay for the rice. That's that volume you see, the pricing by the volume in the market. If there's a lot of stock in the market, a lot of supply in the market, right? Then if you want to buy, there's so many people are selling stocks to you, the price does not go up because you want to buy this particular stock and people are saying, hey, take my stock, take my stock. They are giving it to you. So the price won't go up. And because those folks want to sell their stocks, right, what will they do? They start to reduce the price of their stock. If they reduce the price of their stock, that's why you see the markets, the share price going down. That's what you see on your TV screen. So the more the brokers are trying to buy a stock, the stock price goes up. The more the brokers are trying to sell a stock, the stock price goes down. Does that make sense, guys? So you have to understand this part of it, that the market, the prices you see in the market are driven by demand and supply of those stockbrokers that you see. And it's the same if it's Bamboo, any brick and mortar broker is the same thing. They are all going to the markets to buy and sell. That's what makes the stock price go up and down. So what is NGX talking about? NGX is saying we're going to change how those volumes, how those buys and sells change the price of the stocks on the market. So what they are essentially saying is that if you want to buy a stock, there has to be a minimum number of stocks that can be traded before those stocks can go up in price, right? That's what they're essentially saying, that before you buy a stock, before the stock price will go up in price, there has to be a minimum number before we'll allow that stock to then change the price. The price will change, but this number of volume required is what they're really focusing on. So again, if you're on YouTube, you should see the visuals. I'm just going to share this visual again on Twitter to show you the summary of what NGX is talking about. Let me just here for us. So once we're done, I'm going to have him here to give us a brief overview of what he thinks is happening. He's going to have 1,000 shares to move its price. So that means if those brokers are trading and they are trading just 8,000, then the price will not move. They can trade, they can settle, but the closing price on the NGX will not change because you guys have not traded more than 10,000 stocks. Does that make sense? Okay, if the stock is between 500 naira and 999 naira, so if it's between that band, you need 50,000 volumes to trade for that stock price to change. So again, you can settle, you can transfer, you can do all that. But if the stock does not, the volume traded that day is not 50,000, then the stock price will just basically stay where it is. They can have those trades in the closing stock price that day. Again, if it's a stock that is quoted at below 500 naira, they need 100,000 units to change hands before you can change the closing price. So what's the whole idea? If you marry what I said at the beginning, where when brokers want to buy a stock, there's an interplay between demand and supply. If I want to buy your stock, that means I can change the closing price of a stock. If I just come to the market with 10,000 naira, just for instance, and I buy 200 units of your stock price, because I'm the person buying and nobody is selling, I can make the stock price go up with just, not, this is the old rule, with just 10K. If I pick a penny stock and nobody else that day is selling, I can go in and say, I want to buy 10K worth of that penny stock. And because I've done a bid on that penny stock, the price goes up. What do you say on your TV next day? You're going to see, oh, this stock price has gone up. It's a top performer because the price has gone up. Then what happens? Tomorrow, people be like, oh, this stock price went up. I want to buy this stock because it's gone up. The earnings have not changed. The fundamentals have not changed. But just because I went to the market with small amount of cash, I just put a trade in there, and the volume went. I bought a lot of volume, not up to 100,000, maybe like 5,000 volume. The price will change, it will go up. And if I keep doing this every single day for like a week or a month, what would you guys see on your TV screens? You're going to pull up your top performing stocks, and you're going to see that this particular stock, let's call it stock, let's call it Orange PLC. No, let's say it's Football PLC. You're going to see Football PLC's price going to go up every day, to go up 5% today, go up 5% tomorrow, go up 5% next day. Every day of the week is going up by 5%. Why? Because somebody just sits down by maybe 30 minutes to the close, he just makes an offer to buy. Because he wants to buy, what happens? The price, because he wants to buy, right? So he will say he wants to buy at a price higher than the price of that day. So if his price is being quoted for like 4 naira, he will say, I want to buy for 4 naira 10 kobo. Just 10 kobo difference. And he's buying how many volume? 100 shares. Immaterial. But the price on the news that day is going to show that Football PLC's share price has gone up. That Football PLC is a top performing stock in Nigeria because the price is going up every day, 5%, 5%, 5%. Now, is that real? Are the earnings going up by 5%? No. Are the fundamentals changing? No. But somebody is going to the stock market to touch the price. That's why it's going up. Let's get specific, right? Let's use particular stocks. This will make more sense to you. Let's look at Zenith Bank. Zenith Bank right now is trading about 110 naira, right? So what this new rule is going to imply to Zenith Bank is to say, if you want to move the price of Zenith Bank shares and all share prices that are by stocks that are quoted below 500 naira, you have to trade 100,000 naira minimum before the share price can go up. What does that mean? That means if you're going to do penny stocks, you have to do significant volume before the price can change. You simply can't come to the market with 10,000 volume and buy 1 naira shares, meaning you bought 10,000 shares and the price goes up by 5%. That's not going to happen anymore. So what does that then mean for the stocks, those penny stocks? Their rate of appreciation is going to slow down. Because unless you are a big player, like you're a PFC or a PFA, or you have significant funds to invest, you cannot simply move the closing price of those stocks just by buying, say, 10,000 naira. It's not going to be possible, right? So much, much slower appreciation. And again, the key thing here, retail investment would have a lower voice in the market with retail investors, because who are the guys with the small funds? The retail guys. So they've taken away in a way your ability to influence prices, because you are physically not going to be able to just use your small funds and go in. Good or bad is good in a way because it takes away this distortion I'm talking about, where you can simply come in, buy 10K volume, and the stock price goes up. You see the point I'm making? That's what's happening. So again, I'm putting it in there. I think I just shared the slide for Zenith. So if you go on Twitter, you see where I shared the slide for Zenith and the key impact, because it's below 500 Naira. That's essentially what's going to happen. Let me make sure I got that shared out. Give me a second, folks. Yep. Right. So let me just share that real quick. So that makes sense, right? You see what NGX is doing. If the stock is quoted below 500 Naira, you need 100,000 shares before that share price can go up. So it's going to make share trading for those smaller stocks. You need to have the volume. You just can't come in and run the market with smaller volumes to influence the price without the fundamentals really appreciating. That's what they are trying to do. Let's go to the second tier of what NGX range to the 999 range. One range is going to be stocks that are priced from 500 Naira to 999 Naira, just below 1,000. You need to have a minimum of 50,000 shares to move stocks in that column. So look at your Beta Glass. Beta Glass is about 560 Naira, right? 560 Naira per share. So class of stocks, we're going to reduce the threshold that you can use to move the stocks. It's not going to be 100,000. It's going to be 50,000. Same effect. They want to moderate volumes that can change the share price. They don't want you to come into Beta Glass, just go and buy 500 units and the share price goes up, because you are not really changing. That can change the closing price, but the fundamentals of the stock have not really changed. So there's a big gap between the closing price and the fundamentals. That's what NGX is really after. They want the share price movements fundamentals, which means you just can't easily manipulate the market by trying to use volumes, small purchase volumes, to make the share prices go up. So it has its negatives, it has its positives. The negative is that if you're a smaller investor, your shares currently move the market, but that's the reality. You can't go to the market and say you want to move. If people are buying 100 bags of rice and you're buying one bag of rice, your one bag of rice purchase is not going to move the market the way someone that's going to buy 50 trays of rice will buy the market. See the point where they are making move. Something has got to happen. When they will see the market to move, volume has got to take place. You guys all saw the launch of SpaceX. You saw the amount of volume that went to buy. That's where the share price went. It popped at offer, because lots of people want to buy. That volume is what moved the price up. Now you see the share price coming down because more people are not buying. So the share price coming down. So the NGX wants to have a better representation that volume should drive share price movement, not just volume, significant volumes, right? So that's Better Glass. That's the second table. I'm using those stocks as representative because that's Better Glass is a good representative of that asset class, which is the 500 to 999 volume. Let's look at the last column that they are talking about. This is the Nestle guys. These are the guys that their share price is 1,000 Naira and above. So not much change in this. These are already highly priced stocks. And if you notice, we don't see movements in these highly priced stocks on a velocity that we see movements in the small caps, in the penny stocks. If you guys recall, and I'm going to show you that slide, I had talked about the NGX 30 and the NGX. And I said the movement in the market is the non-NGX 30 stocks. So if you're looking for movement in the market, you're looking at the non-large blue chip stocks. That's what's giving you the momentum and the velocity. But they go velocity up, velocity down. The NGX stocks are more stable. They might go up, they might come velocity as a smaller cap. We call it the beta. The way they react is slower but more organized than the smaller stocks that can go up 5%, come down 4%, right? So for those stocks, and NGX is saying, listen, you need 10,000 shares to move the market, which is fair. Nestle is about 3,000 per share. So 3,000 multiplied by 10,000 tells you the amount of shares if you want to move Nestle price up. That's what you need to have trading on that day to move the price of Nestle. So again, the impact here is going to be very, very reduced. We're not going to see a lot of impact in this particular high cap blue chip stock because they were already expensive. And for you to go and buy Nestle, you know, okay, I'm looking at the fundamentals. Do I want to tie down my 3,000 naira? If I buy Nestle at 3,000, what will Nestle give back to me? You're being more fundamentally minded, right? Than if you are buying a stock that is worth 10 naira. Oh, I can buy a stock for 10 naira. It can go up to 11 naira or to 20 naira. That's 100% gain. You are less likely to look at the fundamentals. You are more likely to chase the momentum, who is buying. But with the Nestle stock or that kind of stock that is priced about $3,000, you're more likely to calm down and look at the fundamentals because you're not likely to say, listen, if I dump my money into stock, what's going to be the ROI? What's their earnings? What's their market share? Because that's what's going to affect the movement in the price. The lower cap stocks are moving with velocity. Nestle moving more with fundamentals. So NGX wants to marry that disparity between momentum and fundamentals, bring it a bit closer, right? That's what's going on. So if you look at this, it's going to respond well to earnings and economic news than less to momentum, right? So this class of the market will not react more to the momentum. It's going to react more to earnings. So guys, again, let's go a bit deeper. I want to keep on Lumide here. I just show you what's actually going on, right? This is just the overview. So if you have what's going to be the impact on the NGX in general, remember the point I made. The NGX is being moved in terms of pricing by the smaller cap stocks. Smaller cap stocks. So when you see the NGX is doing 60%, that 60% is coming from the non-NGX 30. It's not the MTN, Boa Foods, Dangote Cement that is moving 100%. Is the lower stocks, the Zeniths. What I mean lower in terms of the pricing, is it those lower cap stocks that are moving more, right? So there's going to be less volatility overall in Nigerian Stock Exchange because we have taken away the power of momentum. We are trying to go into more of the power of fundamentals, which means that if you are able to look at your stocks, look at the earnings, look at the returns, the ROI, that should drive how you invest faster than just saying, what's Olumide buying? If Olumide is buying this, I'm going to buy this too. That's momentum, right? They want to take that out of the market. They want to have more mature price discovery. Price discovery means if I want to price Nestle, I'm looking at those fundamentals. I'm looking less at what day traders are doing. So it's better for long-term investors. And if you're a trader, you have to be pretty careful because you can then buy and go into what we call a value trap because you need 100,000 volume for your price to go up. If you go buy a small cap stock, you might be in there. The price can change, the volume can change, but the price won't change until there's significant market action, which is 100,000 shares. What will bring significant market action? If there's an earnings announcement. So let me put it this way. If you're in a small cap stock, right, that means that there has to be good announcement. Maybe the company will come and say, wow, we don't get a contract to insure NNPC. That drives earnings. That drives more people to buy the stock. And that would then drive 100,000 threshold, which would then trigger your stock price. It's no longer you can call your friend and say, hey, 5 of us, let's go buy this particular stock. And when we buy that particular stock, we do 10,000 volume, and that 10,000 volume then drives the share price. With on NTA news, and now say stock price today, this stock went up in price. Then more people go and buy. So it's a self-fulfilling momentum cycle, not driven by fundamentals, but driven by the news. That's what's going to happen. Really, that's going to be the impact on the market. And again, I can give you guys specific examples, right? Let me give you guys a specific example of what we're talking about, right? Let's go back to this, right? If you're on YouTube, I'm just going back if you're on YouTube. I try to look at the market, right? And I try to look at the market, this Nigerian stocks with the highest performance. This is just to back up what NGX is saying. So let me show you this. I'm going to show you 2 slides now. I'm going to just hand over to Olumide. Let me show you 2 slides. Let's look at Nigerian stocks as of this year that have the best performance. The best performance. What's the number one stock in Nigeria today? Today. It's a company called NCR. The performance this year alone is about 2,830%. Guys, you heard that right. The NCR is returning 2,830%. I'm sharing the slides on Twitter. It's also on YouTube. 2,830%. How much volume was done in one day? 427. You can argue that, okay, how much volume do they have as float? I hear you, but 2,000%, 427 volume. Market cap of that is about, of the whole company, about 17 billion. So it's right. You can argue that it's mathematics, right? But again, 2,000%, market cap 17 billion, 427 shares in volume traded. And it's not just a small cap. Let's look at Bua Cement is also on this table. Bua Cement is a massive company, right? Massive company. What's their return this year? 320%. 320%. Before you think it's just small cap that good after. Bua Cement is 320%. What's the volume traded for Bua Cement? 246,000 in a day. It's small. It's nothing. It's really, really small. So as long as there is no stocks for you to buy, the demand will keep on going up. So how do we know how much of this 320% for Bua Foods is driven by real fundamentals, which means somebody says, oh, Bua Cement is going to do concrete roads in Nigeria, so let me go buy them. Or I want to buy Bua Cement stock, I can't find them. So every day I'm going to keep on increasing my bid offer for Bua Cement so I can get it. Today I want to buy at 5 naira, I didn't get. Tomorrow I'll put 6 naira, I don't get. Tomorrow I'll put 10 naira, I don't get. Tomorrow I'll put 15 naira, I don't get. I've gone from 5 naira to 15 naira. That's what they're going to say in the market, that the stock has gone up from 5 to 15 because that's the price is being exchanged. When I didn't get at 15, somebody got at 15. So on NTA News, they're going to say the share price was 15. But the offer, or the stock on offer is 246,000 shares. Massive company, Bua Cement. Let's pick a middle guy. Let's pick Beggar Paints. Beggar Paints is doing about 446% this year. All the stocks you're seeing here are the top 10 as of now. 446%, that's massive. Is killing inflation, is beating any market in the world. What's the share price on offer? 9,600. So you see the points I'm making, guys. Okay, let me show you the next slide. The next slide is going to show you the stocks so you can compare and ask yourself, okay, but is 10,000 shares, 10,000 units big or small? Let's go to the slide that shows us Nigeria stocks with the best revenue. Why revenue? Because why are you buying a share? You are buying a share because you are going to get dividends. So how do they pay you dividends? They have to make money. So if you want to know if a share price is going to go up, the revenue will go up. It makes sense now, Abi. Why are you buying a company if it's not going to give you revenue? So if you look at revenue or earnings growth, we focus more on earnings because revenues will then drive those earnings, right? If you look at revenue growth, then you should see those companies there and compare the volume being traded with the one I just showed you before, which is just the best performing stock. Look at the Access Bank. Look at the volume Access Bank is doing. Access Bank is doing about 64 million units a day. Share price a day, 64 million. Again, don't compare the price. I'm not asking to compare 1,000 naira, which is for Nestle, and 10 naira or 50 naira is for Access Bank. No, don't compare the per price share. Look at the earnings. And I'm saying that the Nigerian stocks that are posting the largest earnings have very, very little volume being traded. But look at the ones that are Nigerian stocks that are posting the highest revenues. They have a lot of volume being traded. Look at Access, 64 million. MTN, 6 million. ETI 489,000, Dangote Cement 975,000. So you are hearing million with the highest revenue stocks, but you're hearing thousand with the highest stocks that are performing by share price today. I hope that gives you. I don't want to say. I don't want to be absolute, but I hope that gives you an insight into what we are talking about. That we don't want to go by just volume. Volume can make the price go up. Yes. If I reduce the price, the volume of something, people will demand it. If I bring 100 Arsenal jerseys to Lagos, and the demand for Arsenal jerseys is 1,000, the price of that Arsenal jersey will go up. It doesn't matter if Arsenal has won the league or not. The price will go up because they are just 100 and I have 1,000 put down to buy. This is the point I'm making. But if 100 want to buy the jersey and I have 100, then we will now know the real fans of Arsenal. Because people are going to, if you want to buy the shirt, it's available. So you can then say anyone that wants to buy the shares are available. So the price is not what's driving it. They are buying because they love Arsenal. They think Arsenal is going to win more cups in the future, not because it is scarce. Then the share price going up. I hope you guys get that point. Olumide, how you doing? I tried to just lay out this new NGX proposed change. It's not yet law, it's proposed, guys, but we're on this space, we like to just show guys what to look out for. Olumide, what jumps at you? What's your take on what we're talking about?
Kalu, good evening.
How you doing?
I'm fine. Happy Sunday. We've not seen the circular from NGX, but I think that's what we've almost said everything. But I want to give you a different perspective. So,
Go for it.
If you look at the Nigerian stock market this year, I think from reforms and policies, I think it's the best year ever. And my reasons are not far-fetched. The beginning of the year, we had the stock market cap at 100 trillion, and right now, even despite recent market correction, at 150 trillion. And at the start of the year, we saw reforms around pension funds, allowing them to hold more equity assets, which really increased liquidity and amplified buying pressure on majorly blue chip and dividend paying stocks. We also saw the fact that SEC. So you see, that's really massive. And when you look at the fact that we only have about less than 150 companies this in the stock market, and with a population of over 224 million people, and increased participation in Q1, data showed that over 500,000 people opened accounts, and most of them were retails, first time open. So it's really exciting to see these things. And when you look at the categories of liquidity for stocks to move, you mentioned A, B, C. For the top one, I think the major reason was that they found out that apart from the banking industry, the high capitalized stocks were not that liquid. Apart from the big players to move to stock, it's very difficult for retail or the average retail investor to really make an impact. So I think that will really push into price discovery. We're going to see more liquidity. But my concerns, I still have concerns about that. But let's talk about the positivity first. Then the second area where you spoke about the B, I think for me, that will really make so much of a difference, because on that side, not so much changes. Because if you look at stocks that fall there, they are fairly liquid. Look at the likes of Zenith, you mentioned the fairly liquid stock, and you see how those stocks react normally.
So the target is that the target is the Zenith Sky, the 100 and below, right? 100 and below.
I believe the target is the biggest boys on top and the ones below. The ones below are the ones that are easily manipulated, the ones that you mentioned, really the penny stocks. And why I said the biggest one on top, I think that is where the game comes in. I think they are being strategic because they've not really solved the whole issue. Because you can have, like, for example, now you're saying that for you to move a stock like BUA, for example, you need 50,000, right? But the question now is that who owns Boa Foods, for example, what percentage, it means you're giving them more power to invest. So I think there needs to be a balance, I think it's right now. And I also think they're trying to democratize the efficiency of our market. There's been a concern across the high street, among institutional investors outside Nigeria. They feel the fact that the likes of Dangote, for example, owning 80% of the stock affects the integrity of our market in the long run. Because when you look at the percentage of stocks that are heavily capitalized, most of them are not heavily floated. So that also, I think, my guess is that the NGX is trying to do the easy ones first, then come for the big one. So Kalu, it's a very good one. I think for me, it's going to increase our credibility. It's going to make the listing of Dangote Refinery much more interesting. Based on looking at the price action of where Dangote price, you look at private placement pricing, and you look at which category the stock will likely fall in, the BOD category. So I think that will also increase. But having said this and done, I think for me, SEC and the NGX also need to look at market making, because one of the problems I have is, like, for example, one of your favorites, for example, when you talk about stocks, is ETFs. But if you look at Nigerian stocks, for example, ETFs are one of the most illiquid assets in the Nigerian market. And that's one of the ways for you to attract institutional investors in large marks, because a lot of people are not interested in following the fundamentals of personal stocks. So I feel the NGX needs a lot of work on that. But having said this and done, the fact that the interest of the market has gone, look at how Nigerians talk about stocks is very exciting. Look at the fact that you see that the understanding about metrics like PE, EPS, price to book ratio has been amplified. It gives me hope. But, my concern is that they need to work fast on the biggest elephant in the room. I think market making, because, okay, Carl, before I drop the mic, I want to give you a funny look at what happened when the CBN released drafted guidelines about old coal, and I looked at it. I didn't need to be a prophet to understand what will happen in Nigerian banks, because Nigerian banks are highly floated. So we saw the concerns, and you see the stock like GT falling 10%. From a policy perspective, that really happened if, for example, now maybe President Tinubu says, okay, I'll just give an example. Like, for example, say, okay, we're not using local manufacturers for cement for this. Maybe we are switching to bitumen or things like, when we expect certain reaction, it will unlikely happen that fast. So I think price discovery, the efficiency of our market, the integrity of our market, and these things attract the big boys, because a lot of people are very concerned that how can a country like Nigeria that has so much potential have a market valuation, stock market valuation that is just about a tenth of what you have in South Africa. I think that is very concerning.
Well, look, let me take you to the specifics, right? So I think what they are trying to do really is to remove the. Okay, I don't get too many examples. I looked at the market last year. Korea was the largest. I think it was the best performing stock exchange in the whole world. South Korea last year. If you look well at Korea's stock market, it's just two stocks that delivered the total gain. Remember, we say that for the last 2 years now, emerging markets have beaten the US market. It hasn't happened in a very, very long time. So emerging markets are beating the US market. So you peel back the onion. What is the emerging market? It's South Korea. Okay, so South Korea is the largest performing stock market in the entire world as of last year. South Korea, what companies? It's just two companies, Samsung and SK Hynix, two chip makers. So two chip makers, 1, 2, delivered the entire return in South Korea, delivered the returns on the emerging markets, and these two companies led the emerging markets to beat the US market. So if you come to Nigeria with that example, you find stocks in Nigeria that, because they rise 5,000%, deliver an outstanding result to the Nigerian stock market. But when you go into the fundamentals, what is actually driving this 60% return in Nigeria? You don't see a fundamental return on all the large caps, but you see 1, 2, 3 stocks. Let me give you with example, real example. Let me start. I want to share on Twitter And again, you guys on YouTube can see. So guys, if you're on Twitter, look at my last post on Twitter. Olumide, I don't know if you can see. I wait for you to see it if I continue. If you're on YouTube, you can see it. Let's talk about NCR. NCR last year did 1,354%. 1,354. NCR today is the largest performing stock in Nigeria today. I shared the chart with you. But let's peel back the onion on NCR and see what NGX is driving at. If you bought NGX stock, NCR stocks for the whole year, you make 1,354. But if you bought that stock in January, in October, you only make about maybe 300%. So from October till December, that's when they got the 1,354. 3 months. 3 months. Is it possible for a stock to go up by 3 months? Yes. But what did the earnings of this company go up materially? Did they hit any new government contract? Are they the ones supplying Starlink with diagnostic information? What is making this stock go from in October to December from 300% is now went up to 1,354 if you now held it all to the whole year? What's making this stock go up? That's the point that I think they are focused on. Say, why are small caps just posting 1,000, 2,000% return a year? But the fundamentals, there's another company here. I couldn't get is it
can I add something?
go for it, I mean, it's what I'm saying correct. It's what I'm saying correct. Am I?
Yeah, it's correct.
Okay.
No, you're correct. You're correct. But larger context, I feel like when you look at what most Nigerians are interested in, the large cap stocks, those stocks are not liquid. They don't move easily. And I think based on our holding power, because if you look at the price of Zebra, for example, and how many Nigerians can buy 100 units for Zebra, for example, you tend to understand why they're trying to increase the inflow of liquidity. Because most of the times, if you look at the large capitalized stocks, it's either held by MTN Nigeria, look at Stanbic, so I think that will also help. But what
I'm going to is this is that say that if you are an NGX and you see this, you would then say, okay, let's go to the volume, the penny stocks, and increase the threshold.
Yeah, but to
remove this.
Penny stock. Yeah, to be honest with you, see, I trade in many markets, and I'll tell you the truth. Even in the US market, for example, that's what I was trying to explain to people, that the US market is not as efficient as you guys think, because most of you guys just buy Amazon, so you much is that we still have a lot of issues. That Kalu, see what you mentioned now. You need to also understand that there are caps on stocks. The stocks still cannot move more than 10% or more than 10%. So that also is a problem. If you look at it, be efficient, it should be dictated by market forces, not.
What's market forces? Is market forces the volume or the fundamentals?
When you say market volumes or fundamental, volume is a form of is an aspect under what we call technical analysis. Fundamentals are macro trends. So fundamentals, when you mean fundamentals, you're talking about
what should move the price. What I'm asking that if a share price is going up, what should drive that share price?
Yeah, so there are so many. Yeah, buyer's interest. I get what you're saying. So buyer's interest. Now let me give you an example. So what you are really saying is that from a textbook explanation, if a stock is going up, what she means positive earnings, it means something like a massive profit, but in reality, that look at Zebra, for example, look at SpaceX, for example, listed in the US stock market. If you look at their EPS, you look at their PE, is a stock that you should be shorting from day one. But if you look at the amount of stock that was listed, you look at the people behind, you look at the interest, you look at the name behind the stock, and you look at the fact that the stock was treated like a growth asset, you understand that theoretically investing has changed. So yeah, I get what you're saying. But when it comes to Nigeria, I think the problem we're having right now is that a lot of people are getting interested in stocks, and the NGX is getting regulatory sensitive, more sensitive to the fact that they need to build the integrity in our market. And those things you mentioned, like from the category A, B, C, primarily for me, they don't really after penny stocks to be carried to be honest with you. Because if you look at the percentage or weight index, because look at the NGX 30, for example, look at the all share index, look at the NGX 30. If you look at how penny stock, they don't, those guys, in fact, let me give you an example.
I think they are the target
on Friday.
I'll share
On Friday, GT and GT First Bank fell by almost fell, and that dragged the market. Dangote just fell by 3%, and that dragged. So yeah, those guys don't really.
I mean, the numbers don't. The numbers
bother the regulators.
The numbers back me up. The numbers back me up to say that. I mean, I can share on that slide with you. If you look at the YouTube guys have seen it on the NGX 30 from 2016 till 2025. So if you take 10 years, that's about 10 years or 9 years from 2016 to 2025. If you look at that return, the NGX 30 did about 560%.
Yeah.
560%. I'm going to share it on Twitter. But
I'm talking about the weight on the market.
But that's the point they are making. They are saying that the weight is being artificial, that the market is posting 900 because you have that are going from 1 naira to 2 naira without fundamentals.
But if you look at the weight on the market, Kalu, is minimal. Now, let me make you laugh about the market, for example. When President Sugu came to power, the stock was less than 40 trillion. Now, the stock market is about, at its highest, it was 161. Now, it has moderated to hovering below 55. If you remove Boa's holdings, if you remove Dangote's holdings, if you remove Elumelu's exposure in companies like Zepla, UB, and everything, you are left with a Benin Republic stock market or the Francophone stock market. So what primarily I'm saying is that it doesn't really matter in the scheme of things for me personally from the weight, because I'm looking at the weight, the people really influencing our market, the weight behind the market. I understand what you're saying. Humble beginning starts from the scratch, but the big boys are really the a lot of people ask you, if you ask the average Nigerian, which stock are you going to buy? Which stock is fundamental? Which companies? They mentioned the big boys, the NGX 30. Look at Wema, for example. Okay, look at Wema. Wema used to be a penny stock now. Even though if you look at the price, it still looks like somehow a penny. But it's on the NGX 30 now. And if you look at the influx of liquidity in that market, because the growth has been quite organic because of the fact that it's a banking stock, a lot of people hardly complain the stock has been heavily boosted. Now, look at Dangote, for example. Dangote Cement, for example. Sometimes when the people understand the fundamentals, sometimes the stock is stagnant. When you want to sell, the price doesn't move, and you don't get the offer of the bid to really make that bet, and that really is worrisome for a lot of us because there are a lot of times. Sometimes I have to call my investment banker that I place this trade online. I mean, for example, I want to sell 5 million units of Dangote Cement. Maybe I'm not impressed by their dividend, for example. Sometimes I have to call my investment banker, Kalu. That's to tell you how illiquid some of these stocks are. So the fact that now you don't need 100,000 to move a Dangote Cement. Now a 50,000 units can do the magic.
Let's go back to the what are our recommendations? Many folks are listening here. I think you've heard what's all about. You now understand that if you're a smaller cap investor, you have to have more volume, and volume has got to be, of course, driven then by more people buying. So you and 4 people in a room cannot sit together and move the share price of a company. More Nigerians have got to agree that company is doing well before the share price will go. I think that's a summary of what NGX is trying to get to. So what are my recommendations to you? Now, if you're a retail investor and you're a new investor and all that, but you are retail, what's retail? Maybe you have less than, maybe there's 5 million naira retail, or should we go lower? What's retail?
In Nigeria, 5 million is not retail. 5 million is not retail.
So how much is retail?
I think less than 1 million naira.
Okay,
five. No. I know what you are saying.
No, just asking.
I know you cannot come 5 million naira, but many Nigerians trade less than 1 million naira.
So if you have less than 1 million naira, right? What we're saying is this: number one, the market is going to be slower for you. There's no get out, right? There's no get out be very careful what you are buying, because you can get in and you can be locked in price. Not that you can't sell. You can get in, you can get out, but the price you are buying might not change, which means what's going to be more important to you now, you have to look at the dividends, right? Because if you get it and you can't get out, maybe dividends are going to be your sucker, or you are aware that this company is going to have a good news coming out that will then allow people to get in and get out, and you will be with them. See what I'm saying? Let me dumb it down. If you go and buy a stock in a sector that is a penny stock, maybe 1 naira to 10 naira, you buy that stock, they have to sell on that day 100,000 volume to get out. And you can see this chart I shared. You are hearing things like 400 volume, 600K volume. You are hearing it on that chart I shared. So if the stock does not move with that volume, the price will not change. So you are trapped. You can get out, right? You can get out, but you can't, right? Because you can't get at a higher price. That's for retail. The only discount them below 1 million. Be careful about getting in. Make sure you are buying stock that you know will go up. Very important.
I want to add something.
Go for it.
For me, I think these reforms will make it will cause short-term pain. When I was like talking with a lot of people about the fact that you can now sell your stock and liquidate so fast, and now that there'll be more price discovery.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if the market drops by another 15-20 trillion naira. The market grew by 60 trillion in the first 5 months of the year, and just in June alone, the market has lost 9 trillion naira. And to be fair, the market ran faster than it should from a technical perspective, because if you look at the RSI, relative strength index, or you look at the oscillators, these are indicators. Yes, these are the indicators that we use to know if the market is at overbought or at oversold position, is becoming overvalued. So it means that we are expecting it to cool. So when you look at those indicators, and we're looking at those indicators have been flashing since April, and if you look at the US stock quicker in the long run, and sometimes we see the dips, it comes, it adjusts, it cools, then it triggers, you see it cooling. But the way the Nigerian stocks ran this year, in fact, it defied a lot of price tacticians. It humbled a lot of market tacticians, because it kept breaking resistance without coming. So this would allow more efficiency. For an investor, So for an investor, I think you need to be very careful.
Okay.
I was so surprised when a lot of people spoke about, I don't want to mention the stock, but I think I'll just mention the area that around Arada and Cizeb, that people are excited the fact that these stocks have ran their course, but they need to understand that no matter what, the market can stay rational longer than you, and at some point, the market would also define the true course of its direction. Why I'm saying this is because I noticed that a lot of people are incubating bad habits. You buy stocks because you feel that there is something barrier, and you are still projecting that the stock will hit 4,000. Where are your metrics coming from? So sometimes when I look at, and people get carried away by financial analysis on Twitter, and because of regulatory reasons, a lot of people and I don't really do those things openly on social media, because I am not obliged or I'm not certified to do those things publicly, so I don't. But if you look at it from an investor's perspective, you have to be concerned. Why? Okay. Because a lot of people don't know why they're buying these things. It's very important to know, because now that we're getting to a level of a more efficient market, a lot of bad habits would be curtailed and punished.
I just think that I've just shared my advice, and it's not advice to buy stocks, it's advice on how you should approach your trading, right? I'm just making this point again to this folks. So let's make it to this point. Before NGX said this, if you'll be a follower of this space, we had talked about volume. We had said volume is the initial trigger, but earnings are your lagging trigger. So if you want to know if a stock price is going to go up, look at the earnings. If the earnings go up, the stock price will eventually catch up to earnings. But volume is what you look at to see if that share price is going to move immediately. We said it on this space. But penny stocks, and they wait for 1 week, the thing goes to 2 naira, they sell. They're scalping. but they're scalped with 100 million naira and they make a lot of money. Just because when they buy that volume, people rush in, they get out, the thing falls. I've given you guys the numbers. If you do it yourself, look at the best performing stocks in Nigeria, don't have any volume backing them up. So now that they've brought it, if this change happens, again, remember this change is not final. If this change happens, it's going to change a bit. Those guys cannot no longer scalp with 2K. It's a game. I don't want to say too many things. I don't enter trouble, but I know how it is possible to get a stock price from 10 naira to 20 naira. I know how they can do it. And this is targeting that sort of thing to remove it from the market so that you as a small investor you are more you feel better that listen, I mean, this market is fundamentally driven and all that. I'll give you the example of South Korea. Numbers look big, but when you break these numbers down, it looks very, very watchable. Even as giving you some hints. I'm going to do an exercise on Nigerian stock because I want to know what is driving the 60%. And I hope I'm not surprised when I find out what's driving that 60%. Is it driven by volume or fundamental? I'm going to do that study and I'll show them the. All right, guys. If
Yeah,
you
but when you say 60%, what do you mean by 60%?
apart
from the NGX 30.
No, the NGX overall last year. NGX overall
Okay.
last year. I just
Yeah,
say
no,
what
I can tell you
what
that
drove it. But before you go there, if you guys want to, I've seen your DMs. If you want to request a mic, just request a mic. Don't just they will have you speak as well. Olumide, please go ahead.
Yeah, so if you look at when the ascension of President Tinubu, you look at it started with energy stocks the first year, and it went on to 2024. The firms in energy, so I look back in, we always have weight stocks, industrial, but like you said, to be honest with you, the ones that have been exceptional have been the penny here because this is my place, low volume and trading. I don't dispute that. But I think from my own experience and what I'm looking at, I think what I'm just excited now is that the big boys now, we can really see real volumes because it's frustrating when you can't sell the stock. Like you buy, like I know a lot of people have been shouting about Gilgu, for example. I know a lot of people and these are owned by one of the most powerful and richest men in the country. So I think for me, where the NGX will make the money is if they change the floating rule, then that will be the final. Because if you look at the best stocks, if you ask any foreign person that wants to trade, if you ask, they know Nigerian banks. And why do they know Nigerian banks? Because you don't really need to. It's not because they are that popular. It's because the market is so efficient. You see, Genovia owns about 14% of Zenith, but he really has a full pull on the price, except maybe investors are not keen on that stuff. For example, when CBN brings out a circular or when the federal government spoke about windfall tax, that was this way you could do. Tobelu who owns a large stake of UPA, Femi Otodala even owns about 20.48% of First of the parent company of First Bank. But that stock crashed 10% on Friday. In Nigerian banks, that's why I said that we just need to mirror the success of Nigerian banks to other places like industrials, the oil sector, and the tech. Because, for example, Nigeria is a tech-loving country, but if you look at the tech stock market, for example, it's another place that was another discussion for another day. So you begin to wonder that why don't we have such liquidity and efficiency in those markets? So for me, I feel like the NGX has taken the bull by the horn, but the final take is how they deliver. Because now that we're going to reclassify the likes of JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs probably will be bringing inflows maybe in the fourth quarter of the year, and Dangote being listed on the stock market. I'm expecting the market to double. I'm expecting more people to list. That is what I'm betting on. I'm not even betting on the fact that stock market, because Kalu, let me sorry before I let you, because with what is going on now, the Nigerian stock market has been amplified. Because when you see the efficiency of the market, you see the market becomes less manipulative. Because why is it that we have less than 150 companies listed in the stock market in the country of 224 million people, and you know that the stock market leverage well. Look at when Mercure came to the market. Look at when Japan came to the market. For example, if I list a stock at 1 million and I know that my fundamentals, I know that, okay, in 3, 4, 5 years, my returns will compound by at least 20 to 30%. And Nigerians see that, oh, many of us are listing on the stock market. That increases participation. That is what is happening in America. Look at the tech boys. They have the business, not just the technical background to bring out a product. They understand the power of leverage and compounding. So if we can have that in the country of 2024, it's going to increase economic consumption. It's going to boost liquidity in our market. It's going to restore confidence. It's going to attract so many things. And the government would also be confined to make right things. Because, see, Kalu, the first year has been one of the best years in Nigerian stock market from a policy perspective. The policies that has come out has been market friendly, and this is what we've been crying for many years. So if they can maintain this,
I don't agree.
A lot of people will list on the market.
No, I don't agree.
I agree, Olumide. I completely agree. I think that the one part that Nigeria is missing out of, if the young people can see the market as a wealth creation tool, I think it helps. And I think the market doing well is attracting more people as it should. So I completely agree with
definitely.
you. Silent.
No,
Silent. Do you want what's on your mind? The silent debugger. What's up?
Yes, tell me.
Silent, are you here, or you want to speak on the space?
Sorry?
Go ahead. All right, Olumide, let me just take you right back to this. I want to just go back to this Nigerian stocks with the best performance and Nigerian stocks that have those two. I don't know if you have them pulled up, Olumide, because with the highest revenue and stocks with the best performance, I don't know if you have those stocks pulled up. You see, I'm looking at it again, and I just think that NGX action is really, really important, because if you look at what's happening in the Nigerian market today, these stocks that are posting the best performance in Nigeria are all expensive. They are all expensive. NCR 98% PE. Unicell 492 PE. Mercure 52. They are all expensive. Only Initiate is about 6.4. That makes sense there, right? Look at their earnings. None has earnings. If you take away Boa Cement, none has earnings near 5 naira. They're all very expensive with low earnings. And these are the best performing stocks in Nigeria. Low volume, very, very low volume. So
again,
we can't have a market where a company can just come, everybody's buying it because there's this company stock that I will tell you about. I mentioned it last time you were here. They do agriculture, something. I can get the name for you. I looked at it. They don't have any financials. They are up 1,500%.
Yeah, I know the company. Yeah. Spoke about the company.
Let me get the name. So why?
I spoke about the company. I don't want to. Yeah. Even Bloomberg spoke about the company that the chairman absconded and the stock has been rallying. But to be honest with you, I don't think it's confined to the Nigerian market alone. Because that's why I gave SpaceX for example. If you look at their EPS or price,
SpaceX.
I don't want to. I'm going somewhere. I know what you want. It's a growth stock. People are betting on the future, and if you look at things evolving around it, it's solid. But what I'm trying to say is that if you look at the numbers, the way you're looking at, for me, when you say something is expensive, I will ask you the question relative to where. Because if you look at these stocks, I know, to earnings. So when I say related to where, I don't mean confined to geographical. In Nigeria, I might agree with you. If you look at this stock compared to their peers in South Africa, compared to in Ghana, I would disagree with you in Egypt, because Nigerian stocks are still far one of the cheapest despite the rally. And the reason is not far-fetched, because you need to look at how compressed the market has been for a while and things like that. But I totally agree with what you're also saying, that how can this have impressive astronomical alphas, and when you look at the numbers, there's nothing to really write home about. And when you have so much of that, that becomes a problem. But I also want us to look at it at the fact that it's not just the Nigerian stock market.
Okay. I mean, the market punishes you if you don't have a good result. So in the US, like you're talking about, if you this a space shuttle blows up, the market will punish you. Your CEO falls off a building or is drunk, the market will punish you. Like you just mentioned, we have stocks in Nigeria where somebody would have abscond and the share price is still going up. I'm looking at the company now. It's Zix Agro Allied Industry. What do? Right? I don't see any results. I don't see any results in what I'm looking at. Every other company here has a result. I don't see any results for this company. The share price is up. You know, again, this is the point that we have to have. Olumide, you are saying that the BlackRock are going to come, people are going to come. So many people that listen to my space don't live in Nigeria. And everybody ask me, should I invest in Nigeria? Is it all real? This is the point we're making, that the Nigerian stock market has got to present its best 11. And I like what NGX is doing. They have to weed away most of these folks that are just there just to make price appreciation without earnings. Yes, if you're a stockbroker or if you're a buyer, you have the right to invest your money where you want to, but there has to be a bit more focus on which companies are, where are their results, where are you going to. There has to be more education. People are buying stocks like gambling. And let me buy here, let me buy here, let me buy here. Perhaps the stock price will go up. That's just my take. I think there are lots of companies that are doing very, very well. Even the Boa Cement, it has little float. That's the problem. But they are doing pretty well. They are doing well. Their results are up. Their earnings are up and all that. We want to see a market, Olumide, where everyone can look at the numbers themselves and then take a decision and say, I want to be in this sector. I want to be in that sector because it's going to give me returns for my capital. That's, I think, where we're going to go to. That's really my take. Yeah, I've seen a lot of your DMs. You guys, I don't know why you guys don't want to talk. Are you guys shy? DM is saying, Olumide, someone said I should ask you about MTN. What's your take on MTN? He says, ask Olumide about MTN. Do you think it's still a good buy now that they fixed up their dollar, the devaluation issue? Olumide, over to you. So let's ask you about it.
I don't want to talk about that. You just talk about. I think we about MTN enough, and the reason why I don't talk about it is like I have a position in that. I have a position, so it's really going to be very biased. But to be honest with you,
are they going to pay dividends? The dividend rule does not apply to them.
Have a tough time, Kalu. If you look at xenophobia around, because you might say it really doesn't matter, but I'm a bit concerned. I'm less concerned about Standard Bank. That's Stanbic, because a lot of people people connect MTN with South Africa. That can have an effect as well. But if you look at the business is solid.
Yeah.
And the fact that the CBN now is mandating banks to have local servers for, I think it'll be a big winner. MTN invested in cloud infrastructure and things like that. Means that I'm looking at both. The tricky thing is that they are parent company. If you look at the holdings and look at the market action now, I've seen increased institutional selling. That's why the stock found it very hard to break the 1,000 resistance. So for me, I would buy the stock at this price, to be honest with you.
Really?
But I won't sell. Yeah, personally, I won't buy. And that's why I said but I will sell what I have. So I feel that there are much more attractive offerings in the market than MTN Nigeria.
EPS 63 naira, price to earnings about 12.
I think you're more of a. I don't know. I think you're more of a. Markets. I use my strategy. I use technicals for the US. I use fundamentals for Nigeria. Technical for Nigeria, for me, I think is a waste of time, to be honest with you. And if you look at it, most of the time, look at historical technicals in Nigeria really work, because for technicals to work, your market must be efficient. Because what are you using as your technical? When you're using PE, you're using mathematics, right? And you're using you're using calculation. So
it's earnings. I'm using earnings. I'm using earnings.
But these are mathematical.
No, it's earnings. Earnings is what you have done, what your staff have done. Earnings. Your staff went out, got the deposits, invested deposits.
I'm saying numbers. They're numbers, right? I'm saying they're numbers. They're numbers. So what I'm saying is that they make sense to me, but for me, for Nigerian stocks,
what should we use in Nigeria? So
for example, let me give an example now. So the stocks are. So this is how I've done very well in Nigerian stocks. first of all, I look at number one, I follow the money, liquidity, sellers buy. So maybe the MD of Fidelity, for example, they just passed the decision that she bought 500 million units, and I can verify she bought 500 units. I usually jump. When I do other little things, I usually jump.
But why is she buying? Why is she buying?
I believe that's why I'm saying that she's seeing something we're not seeing.
What she's seeing? What she's seeing?
Kalu, let me explain something to you. I might not be, I know where I'm going.
Well, what she's seeing is she's seen it early.
Exactly. So I'm telling you the things I'm using. Yeah. So
but that's it. What she's so when she sits down, like I remember the crash. Remember the crash that happened in America in 2006 when they had the mortgage crisis. There was the bank guy that said, 2008. So everybody was buying bonds, and they thought the bonds were going to cut interest rates, so bonds would go up. One guy in the entire trading desk bought equities. One guy, and the market turned against them. Rates didn't go up. Rates went down. Bonds, the ticket cut. The entire bank was losing money. Then he now told that the trader had a position in equities. And that position in equity was going to become some huge because everybody was now buying equity. So the MD, the guy that writing the book, said he called his broker and said, buy me more shares of this bank. Because he had heard that this trader here had a position in equity. So he bought you. So what you're saying is that when that banker buys, the CEO buys, you also buy, right? And I'm saying, why is the CEO buying? He was buying because he knew that the analyst had a position in equities that was going to make profit for the bank. So eventually, it comes right back to earnings.
That's yes, I know. So I'm not disputing what you're saying, but I'm saying like you are giving me the right, but I'm telling you the basics I use from the vanilla.
So I said it's spiritual. Tell your mind yourself.
Let me give you another good example. Let me give you another good example. When President Sobu came to power, I looked at the things he liked naturally, and I looked at this thing. One of the easiest things, you know, that the man likes cement. He likes cement. He likes cement. So I don't need to waste my options looking at Wa and Dangote cement. What I just did was I just increased exposure in cement and the oil sector because I knew particularly that as someone from Oando as less than 5 naira, definitely that was by gamble. So you could see I didn't even look at the results. I'm just giving then that the fact that I felt that this was the sell of market correction was beyond. So my exceptional results really come from the PE and this. I understand them. I know why they are derived, but I'm making people to understand that different things work in different markets for different reasons.
I think it's the same thing.
The Nigerian stock market move is different. For example, look at, for example, a lot of people lost money in January because they felt that 100 trillion was the resistance in the Nigerian stock market, and reforms came in. But when I heard reforms, when I heard pension funds were going to invest more in stock market, it was so easy for me to know what stocks they're going to buy because if you've been trading Nigerian stocks for very long, you know the stocks most pension funds buy.
They have an index. They have their own index, right?
Exactly. So, and finally, look at Tony, for example. I had bought Zebras. I used the broker to just buy Zebras. I even wanted to sell my Zebras. I felt like I have done far too much. Just luck, because I think something dragged me a bit, and I had a little bought into. That was what PE or what do EPS or what price to book or what. That's what make people understand that you don't need to be a quant or a hardcore financial analyst to make a break in Nigeria. See, the enemies of these guys, they have the best financial. But see, if you can follow those guys in our market, if you know the alphas in our markets, I tell you, your story will be like the man that saw.
No, I hear. Again, just to make the point again, to people are listening, right? I do a 3-factor way. I use 3 factors if I buy a stock. Number one, I look at the fundamentals. So all the share price, the PE ratio, the earnings, that's my number one factor. So I have 5 things. Is the PE, is the stock price, the price that I ask me to buy, is it cheap? Number 2, earnings per share. Am I going to make money from this share? Number 3, dividends per yield. If I buy, Will I get some money back, at least to buy Gala? Am I getting any dividends per share? 5 margin growth. Are they doing 10% margin? So I do the fundamentals. That's number one thing. I do 5 of them. Number one. If the fundamentals look good, I do a tick mark. I go to the second question. Is that company in its sector, is it growing? So let's say I want to buy banks. Is that bank in the banking sector, is it growing its market share? Because in the end, stocks are about earnings and earnings are about market share. It's not the best company that makes earnings. It's the biggest company that has scale that's going to make earnings. That's really it. No matter how good your bank is, you're not going to beat Chase. No matter how good your bank is in the end. So number 2 is that stock growing market share in its sector. If it's yes, I give it a second tick mark. The last thing I do is to ask myself, is that sector growing or shrinking? So if you are in banking in Nigeria, banking is growing. So tick mark. If you are in black and white television, it doesn't matter the fundamentals of black and white television. It doesn't matter if the company is growing its stocks, but if the sector is shrinking, don't buy that stock. So those 3 have to go 1, 2, 3. They have to be green, green, green. If it's green, green, red, don't buy. If it's green, red, wait. If it's green, red, don't. You have to follow that order because you get into what we call a profit. Is it profit trap limit they call it, where you are buying a very good company. So let's say you're going to buy give me a good company, a very, very good company. Maybe you are buying Martin Douglas that makes fighter jets. Very, very good company.
Okay.
Yeah, but that company, is the company growing its market share? Yes or no? It's not. It's a good company. It has good PE. It's got a good price. It's got good earnings. It's got good margins. That's fine. Is it growing market share?
I have a problem with your theorem. So let me
shut you down.
Yes, I want to test. No, I totally like you, but I like us to have an intellectual test. So if I'm going to follow your theorem, for example, your analysis, why has Access refused to? Because Access sticks green in most of the things you mentioned.
Yeah,
so
let's look at Access. Let's go to Access.
Yes, let's talk about Access. Yes, so
let's go. Let me find. So this is Access Bank. So number 1 is Access fundamentals good? They are. PE ratio 1.64. What does that mean for the folks listening? If you buy Access Bank in 1 year or 2 years, at the current earnings, you make your money back. That's what PE means. So Access 1.64. What is let's look at their EPS for Access. EPS for Access is 13 naira. 13 naira. Compare that to UBA, 8 naira. Compare that to ETI. ETI is 25 naira. Compare that to First Holdco, 3 naira. So you're buying a cheap stock with high earnings, dividend yield 2.06, not beating inflation. So I would say Access, give or take, is in the middle. It's not a bad bank. The numbers look good. So I get a green there. Tick.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next sector now. Is Access growing its market share in banking in Nigeria? Yes or no?
Yeah.
If it's growing, so I have 2 green ticks. Let's go to the third one now. Is banking growing in Nigeria? That's the most important question.
Yeah, GDP. Yeah.
Good. If Access is a good bank and is growing its market share, but banking sector is shrinking, don't buy. Don't buy.
Banking sector is not shrinking.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So if banking sector is not shrinking, so they are doing green.
That's why I said that. Now, if I followed your theory, I wouldn't have made so much money. Like now,
no, you don't have to buy Access. You can buy any other stock in the banking sector. I'm not saying you should go. I'm saying that when you want to pick a stock, right? You have many options. There's Access, there's GT, there's Zenith. You have to compare all 3 and say, out of these banking stocks, which one? But the 3 volumes have got to be green, green, green. That's the point I'm making. I'm not saying every cement company in Nigeria might make money, but you buy Dangote or Bua, because they are both have green, green, green. You then go back to your number 1, and say, okay, I'm going to focus on the fundamentals between Dangote and Bua. But the point I make is that if you want to buy Dangote or Bua, but you see red at the end, red meaning that the sector they are in is not growing and they are not increasing their market share in that sector, don't even waste your time doing the first fundamentals. Don't be in that sector. You don't want to be in a fast-growing company in a shrinking market. Why is SpaceX valued at 1.76 billion? Because number one, their fundamentals don't make sense. We all know it, you and I. You can't say you want to buy a company today that is going to be is 1.75 trillion on 80 billion revenue. So the fundamentals don't make sense. So the first one is red, Abby. Red. Okay. But is the company growing its market share? Number two. Not just is it growing, it's the only one. Blue Ocean just blew up. So the Amazon guy just blew up. So if you want to send cargo to space, you have to use SpaceX. So number two is green because it's the only one. Then the third one is space, telecom, data centers. Is that a growing sector in the world?
100%,
green,
100%.
Fantastic. So you have red, green, you can buy. But if you have green, red, don't buy.
Let me be honest with you. If it was red,
don't buy.
I could have access. No, I could have access to. No, I'm just saying. Another thing you need to also look at is the personality behind. So you don't. There's a general rule. Don't bet against Elon Musk. Even when everything was red, that guy showed that he's a genius, and I think he is the best entrepreneur of our times. You can't dispute that.
Yeah.
But for me, you see what I'm saying, and that's why I said that textbook financial analysis needs to be updated, because when we were young, like you were saying, these things work for value stocks, but now
it works for any stock in the world. But pick any stock.
You know why it doesn't work? You know why exactly? Because there are some stocks I missed. Let me tell you the honest truth. For example, I never invested in NVIDIA, not because I didn't see it as it didn't meet the principles that I learned from intelligent investing. If you look at Palantir, for example, too, Peter Thiel, I didn't invest in it because I won't short anytime
no one knows what Palantir does.
I buy puts, yes, but Kalu, you understand what I mean? So I totally agree with what you're saying, but growth stocks don't work with those fundamentals, and a lot of people will miss money. You miss because the stocks that the future stocks today, they don't look like they're going to make so much profit in the start. Look at Anthropic, for example. Look at OpenAI. The only reason why
I hear you, Luke. I hear you. And like if you are told someone to buy a company that was going to do search, nobody will buy that company. This company is set up to do. If you want to go to the internet, you go to this company. This company will give you the result. Buy that company. That company was called Google. Nobody buy that company.
I invested in it.
No, but you are a geek. I mean, if you come and tell me that buy a company that is going to go, if you want to go, first of all, I don't know what search engine was in 20 years. I don't know what search engine was. The same way today, I don't know what Anthropic does. I know it's an AI. So many times it's not. See, when we're growing up,
can you know the difference of your time and this time?
You guys have more information.
Then can you know and that time we're not just relying on IP tech. They also have stuff, because one of the reasons why I invested in Google, if you remember, they bought AdMob. So you
are going technical.
Advertising.
You are a geek. You are a geek.
No, I'm just trying to make you understand. Look at the margins. Look at what Google is bringing out, even as a tech company. Look at what they are bringing out. So it tells you that even though they are tech companies, from a business perspective, these companies were losing money more than JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs combined.
What I'm telling you, the guys listen to me. I'm giving you a very, very simple way to buy stocks. There are 3 green arrows, right? Fundamentals alone is not enough. You've got to ask that second question. Is the company growing? And is that sector growing? If the fundamentals make sense, let me give you a good example. Today, you see all this Adobe, Salesforce, all these companies that automate things for you. Many of you use it. You use Canva, DocuSign, all these companies that I'm doing a website. I'm doing a website for Olivide. You can go to Anthropic or Claude, type all the nonsense in to do your website. So imagine if there was a company today that was making websites. That's the company. The company is making 100% X on revenue, 100% X revenues. But is winning market share. So in that company is a dominant maker of websites. It's growing by 20% X every year. Don't buy that company. Because the third one is in red. The third one is saying that Claude and all these AI guys are going to replace that company in 5 years. If you're making websites, it's gone.
Yeah, I guess you, but this is the problem I have with this now. That's why I said that in the US now, I use a mixture of technical and fundamental analysis.
I hear you.
And that's why
you're right.
Yes, and that's why I'm looking at the fact that okay, look at OpenAI and Anthropic. Because I remember tech bubble. I know in 2001, if you remember the tech bubble, a lot of companies were listed because they had a website. It's not that they had strong business model.
Correct.
The problem I have
Very true. Good point. Good point.
Yeah. The problem I have with artificial intelligence personally is the fact that it consumes a lot of power, and from a business side, it's not productive. In fact, it's not profitable.
You're not Jabota. It consumes power. That's why I don't like it.
Yeah. No, because I don't like. Because Kalu, I'm looking at the business. Because see, at the end of why am I investing in a company?
Are you buying surplus?
Why am I buying exactly? I'm looking at earnings. I'm looking at future. The fact that the part of profitability. And if you look at that, was why I was not carried away with Uber, for example. I remember when a lot of people brought me the theories of Uber for me. I said, see,
Uber can't make money.
But look at how Uber is struggling. See, the US stock market, forget it all, that they invest in growth. There is a time that will come that your growth would be exposed.
Do you know one of my stocks I buy that are very, very guilty is Philip Morris. If you want to get dividends in America, go and buy Philip Morris. What does Philip Morris do? Cigarettes. They make. I mean, that company, Jesus H. Christ. I mean, the returns that's giving me in just dividends alone. Because all they have to do with their money is just to pay dividends. They can't advertise. They can't do anything in America. They can just pay dividends out. So I say, okay, hey, I want to get the dividends. I'm trying to add Kizito capital. I'm trying to get dividends in. It's sin, but it's money. I'll take it, So, but investing again has to do with your ethics, right? There are many guys that will not buy arms, energy, they are ESG, they don't want to spoil the environment. They will buy ahead. Many people like that. Let's get Kizito live there before we say we are monopolizing the discussion. Kizito Capital. Hello, sir. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Hello. How are you doing?
I'm trying and hanging in there. It's Sunday. Happy Father's Day if you're a father and all.
Yeah, same to you.
Yes, sir. What's on your mind? We'll be having a great discussion in Nigeria. Look at the NGX rules. Try to explain what's going on, and then we're now diving into the general market in general. What do you talk about?
Yeah, I just want to add to what you and the points both you and Olumide was trying to make. And I think both of you are correct, right? So both approaches are correct. But I think the one important point there is that the one an investor chooses to pick depends on the risk appetite of the investor, right? So if the investor has a higher risk appetite, right, then I think that's the Olumide strategy is a very good way to go, right? But if the investor has like a medium or low risk appetite, then the investor should stick with Kalu's strategy, right? Because as much as you want to jump on ships on time, because why Olumide's strategy is very important because of information asymmetry, right? You might have access to information that no one has at that point in time, right? So you jump in on time, but at the same time, it increases your risk, right? So while you have the high chances of making so much money, you also have the high chances of losing, right? But Kalu's strategy it minimizes your risk. So both of you are correct. Very important point, but all depends on the investor's risk appetite.
So I just want to make the point that what I'm saying is that I don't think Olumide and I have a very, very different strategy. He's just basically saying he's more actionable. He's saying, listen, if I see a CEO buy, that's my signal to go and buy. I don't dispute that. I don't dispute that at all. Because literally the market gives you a report saying insider trading. There's a report on most stockbroking apps that will show you insider trading. So if you look at insider trading, you see this guy buying, it triggers you to say, why is he buying? Same way, if somebody is selling, it triggers you, why is he selling? I get that. Good.
Yeah, I think
Well, you see, what Berkshire Hathaway just sold a few stocks, right? Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett is gone.
Yes.
Berkshire has sold a few stocks. Those stocks that they are selling, should we go sell them because we don't agree with them? or what. But what I'm saying is
yeah,
this: I'm not disputing with this point. I was adding to his points. His point is very, very valid.
Exactly.
I'm adding to his point. I'm saying if you're an investor, right? Most investors only focus on the first box, which is the
Yeah.
fundamentals. Like look there, whatever we buy is fundamentals driven. We're
Yeah.
saying what price, what earnings. That's fine. I'm saying
Yeah.
go beyond earnings and ask yourself the question: this company, this sector it's in, is it going to be here in 5 years? Especially now in the age of AI. Especially now, there are many companies that have shut down because of AI. They've come out to say
Yeah.
we can't compete because of AI. We're shutting down. Many companies are hiding. Many jobs are going to go. Many jobs.
And Kalu, another thing again is like you mentioned something very important. I think the NGX should look at that because if you look at insiders buying, for example, that's a major key opportunity for a lot of retail. But you said something. When these big boys sell, they don't do those announcements in the Nigerian stock market. And I think that's
they don't.
bad.
They don't.
Oh. Have you heard it before? They don't. You don't say, except me just say maybe it's rare. It's not like the way you see hedge funds in US, for example. Like
the US,
I've forgotten what that thing. Is it 30F or 16F? I've forgotten the number. When it's disclosure exactly. So that alone, Kalu, that's a pool of, because I remember when Buffett reduced his position in Apple, the stock drew down. It affected, even though it was released weeks after, it drew down before the stock picked up. So yeah, those things have influence on the market. So I also expect the market from the information perspective, we need to have much more of that. People really need to see who is buying and who is selling, all these things. We only have acquisition, we only have when a major deal, but I'm talking of when hedge funds, when major dealers in the market sell big positions. Because usually by law in Nigerian stock, when you have a 5% position in the market, you must announce, you must make it public. When you beat United Capital and disclose their equity stake of 5% NGX, they had to make an announcement, So we expect to have that on the sell side. I think that also will democratize and boost the efficiency of our market.
Kizito, are you like what are you? Are you like a company? Are you trade? What are you? I see you're a quant guy here. Are you? What do you do?
Yeah, I'm a software engineer, but I'm a trader. So I write software for trading.
Individual
market.
Individual guy?
Yes.
What's your focus? Is it Nigeria, offshore?
Mostly offshore,
Mostly
US.
Offshore. Are you Nigerian? You have an accent. You're Nigerian, Abi?
Nigerian.
Are you investing in Nigeria?
Yeah, of course, definitely.
So,
but just like that, the market does not move as fast as we would want it to move.
What do you mean by that? It moves more than the US, right?
The volumes.
The volumes. Okay. Not the price. The price moves, but the volume is very sticky.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
I think it's both, Kalu. I think it's both, but I think it's better because I don't think an average Nigerian can survive if the stock falls 30% a day. When you look at the way Nigerians react to stocks, they don't get it yet. Like, you don't get it yet because, if you don't put those caps, for example, just imagine GT falling 25% on Friday. That would create a lot of
South Korea. What happened on Monday? South Korea. They had to
circuit breakers sometimes. Yeah, but I think we have circuit breakers now. So I think if the stock falls a certain percent, but that also I think we really need to, in the long run, to remove the cap. For me, I think it will bring in bigger boys because a lot of people still think our market is still a pawn when you compare to emerging market.
Gotcha. So let me just go back to this point about you said about the foreigners are coming in, the frontier markets guys are going to come into Nigeria. Is that where we're confirmed that are going to come in? Is that confirmed?
Definitely, if the classification comes in, investment banks' portfolios will really have to reflect that in. If Dangote is listed, the bet is that will also bring in. So but the question right now is that we don't really know what's going to happen. The economy is very sensitive to President Trump and Iran seems to be having.
They are still talking. They're still talking.
But if you look at it now, it's not looking so good for Nigeria now, despite the fact that our FX reserves are at $51 billion. Because you also need to look at crude oil prices now has dropped by more than $40 from the highs in
in America. Oil prices are below $5 now, and they are falling. They are falling.
Yeah, they're
So-
falling. So it's the same thing.
Yeah,
But you know,
can
the
you tell
Nigerians are not so happy with what is happening with Dangote refinery because that's where I
Oh, no,
see.
did you hear this report about Dangote importing? Yeah, it's real. So what's going on?
So
No,
what's
real.
really happening? That what is the objective? Because I think
No, let me
you're
explain.
saying because okay, go ahead.
So to big
Okay.
buyers, big buyers,
Okay.
those guys are able to buy those stocks in bulk, and then they move it to Lome. Lome is what we call a transshipment area. So in Lome, you can go there. They have all this. They are able to do transshipment faster and better than most other, like even Nigeria. So like we don't have. I think I put it on time. We don't have the ability to do those large ship, small ship. We do into Lome. So the large ships from Dangote go to Lome. The small Nigerian traders go to Lome, get the Dangote PMS from the ship that Dangote exported from Nigeria and re-import it back to Nigeria and sell. They use Nigerian dollars to import what Dangote just exported and earn dollars. This is, you can Google it.
I know, but from your own, I want to see, does it really make sense? Because
yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense because there's an arbitrage. If you are buying, it's like you want to go and buy rice in maybe in Dangote factory. Let's say a company hold a rice farm, right? You would then buy at a discount because you're a bulk buyer. So if you buy a bulk buyer discount and you move to Lome, then because I can't buy at a bulk discount, can go to Lome and buy a smaller cargo from you and import that same smaller cargo back to Nigeria.
Because I don't know. I asked that question because I'm looking at the spread. I'm looking at the price.
Let me see if I can. I have the slides here. Let me see if I can share the slides.
The price and the spread.
I'm going to share the slides. My YouTube guys can see this. I shared the slide yesterday.
Honestly, I think price of petrol should be below. Though I know that old stock and things like that, but I think looking at the way things, I think price of petrol should be below 1,100 right now.
Only if what this guy is saying, because this information is coming from the S&P Global, it's not from Kalu Aja. The S&P Global, there's a guy called Matthew Terence Cook, right? They had a webinar in Nigeria. That's why I'm getting this information from Olympic. It's not from me.
Okay.
So the S&P guy, he gave the numbers. Dangote, he put the figure in, I think in February. That Dangote was 774, so Dangote was cheaper, so they could do that arbitrage. Currently, Dangote is at 1175, so they can still do the arbitrage. This is from S&P Global, not from me.
Because I heard it, because I did a report on Dangote that importation, export to Dangote reduced exports
by 96%.
A lot of a huge percentage.
Yeah, but that's what's going on. The small. When you say 4%, 4% is a lot. So for Q1 2026, we reduced imports by 96%, but that 4% is still a lot so it's still a lot. That 4% is what we're reimporting, I guess, back into Nigeria. It doesn't make any sense. So why can't Dangote just sell the PMS to Nigeria directly? Why? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever that you can go to Lome. Go to Lome and import fuel back to Nigeria and still make a profit. You pay for shipping, you pay for cargo, you pay for insurance, you pay for dollar exchange rate, and you can still sell that PMS in Nigeria cheaper. It doesn't make any sense. It's either Dangote is selling too low, his price is too low, or dollars is too cheap.
I don't really understand it. Yeah, but that's why I was a bit, because if you look at Nigerian petrol in West Africa, is still cheaper than what is in Togo presently.
Yeah.
And if you look at the way it's going, so that's why I said I don't understand. But yeah, I'll look at the numbers and look at the
again, quote the guy, S&P Global. That's the guy that is giving the report. Not Kalu, is the S&P. I'll give you his name there. If you want to get it, S&P Global, his name is Matthew Tarsi Cook. The seminar was in Nigeria, June 2026. How many people carried it? I saw the paper. I just did it by research. All people carried it. So
another good thing about this stock market, these reforms in the stock markets, is that I'm not even just looking at Dangote refinery. I'm looking at the mushrooms coming after Dangote refinery. one of the research I've done in Germany is that if you look at the German stock market, for example, people focus on BM and the Benz, and when you look at little companies behind that are listed, they usually do outstanding. The same thing with Apple. If, for example, I used to tell people that if you really missed out on Apple, just look at the guys.
You mean the suppliers, the suppliers behind,
exactly, and look at their, and you see so much opportunity. So I feel
I have that tweet. I have that tweet. I have that tweet.
I'm making that bet that now reading chemical engineering in Nigeria, it looks like a smart option. You know, those days I used to laugh at friends that at that time we didn't have private school, so petroleum engineering was the only engineering course you had in UI, for example, in the whole Southwest. And I think those petroleum engineering, you see them in South and a few places in the North. Now, if you're reading chemicals, you're reading STEM in Nigeria, I think there are a lot of opportunities. So for me, I'm seeing that as long as Nigeria can maintain its politics, reduce the drama, the present Nigeria richest men, they will look like midgets when, in terms of wealth, when the next generation takes. Because, Carl, you see, wealth is compounding at a pace we don't even understand. Look at what AI is doing. Look at how massive inflow going into the US, and the US has shown that it's the best place to democratize wealth. So my right, and Nigeria is really seeing these things because a lot of Nigerians are also exposed in those markets. So we are bringing those things. So I that's why I don't want to be focused on our point. I still believe that what is happening in our market, Nigerian market still has a way of getting maybe the 500 billion cap by the end of the decade. It's possible.
What about those fintech boys? Is Flutterwave still coming to the IPO? Is that still happening?
So interestingly, to be honest with you, I'm not the best person to talk about that, but most of these, a high percentage of these unicorns are listed. They have most of their offshore, and if you look at the kind of ways they raise money, where you ask the question. In Nigerian stock market. Look at OPay, for example. OPay basically have all their operations in Nigeria, but they decided to go with Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley for underwriting to list in the United States stock market. So it tells you that personally, but I feel that companies that I'm really looking at in the long term, I'm looking like Piggyverse, for example. I think they have local institutional players.
I don't know list. Piggyverse, that's a good one.
I'm just guessing. Yes, it's a company I like to see to list. I think they will really encourage because a lot of people use that app, and I think they have one of the best managed teams I've seen in the tech ecosystem ever since I've been in the financial media space. Because apart from the fact that they know they are very disciplined, this is a company that I've seen that they're focusing on their bread and butter and they refuse to expand carelessly. If you look at the average fintech company in Nigeria, they want to be in crypto.
They want to be a bank. They want to be
a bank. And you need to understand that bank is a different game entirely. I don't really understand that business model. It's just like a Stripe saying he wants to be a JP Morgan. They get themselves banks in the foot, So I think.
Have you heard about this company called Reliance in India?
Yeah, of course. Run by one of the richest banks in the world.
Not Reliance. Jesus. It's not Reliance. It's an app. It's an app. Jesus. This name. Just give me. They do. It's a fintech app. They do a lot of loans. Jesus. Why is this thing flaming me? Let me get it. Let me get it. I was blown away. I listened to a podcast from some guys talking about the history of these guys. I was just blown away. Completely blown away by how large this company is. Bajaj Finance.
Okay.
Have you heard about them? Bajaj Finance.
I've not.
The same Bajaj motorcycles. The same Bajaj motorcycles you see.
Yes, exactly. Look out.
Good. So these guys, when they were selling motorcycles, apparently they tried to then. No one could buy in India. Nobody could buy. This is where they started. Nobody could buy. And also production was very, very long. You had to pay and wait for 10 years. 10 years to get a bike in India. So you pay and you wait 1 decade to get a bike. So what these guys did was they went with Citibank and they went to staff. This was a long time ago. For now that consumer finance said, hey, if we gave you a loan, would you buy our bike? The guy said, of course, we'll buy. We don't care about the interest and all that. That's how they started. They were doing loans to buy bikes and expanded. If you hear these guys' stories, they've taken loans approval to 3 minutes. 3 minutes. They have their own infrastructure, their own cards. They are like in the stores. Why is Nigeria not doing this? Just
Can I make you laugh? Let me make you laugh. One of the most popular websites in Nigeria is run by an Indian guy, like Sporty Bets. I forgot his name, and he owns. So I try to read deep down. I think for me, the Indians, they found a way of in making money out of mass population.
High tech.
Yeah.
You walk into the place for what I got to say. You walk into the store, and they know you are in the store, and they can approve you in the store, and they can give you a pre-approval, or you can request for the loan right there on the spot and get approval in 3 minutes. They took it from 15 days, working about 7,000 or so in their currency. They took it down to 3 minutes. And if you hear just the company, how they run this company, they have a AGM, and they'll sit on the floor. They might just sit on the floor, and they'll just take the company apart. What's working? What's not working? Everybody can say.
Are they listed?
In India, I don't know if they are listed. It's crazy. I'm looking at their website right now. But I'm just saying that the way they've run the same adversity, they wanted to get a banking license. They said, no, we're not going to give you a banking license. That's why when you mentioned this fintech want to be back to Nigeria. Yeah. They didn't get a banking license, so they just focused core. You can get a loan for anything, health, travel, loan, everything. One time on these guys. Look, if you look at the website, you just see loans on top of the website: EMI card, gold loan, electronics loan, term insurance, everything you can get. Your credit score is there. So,
Kalu, that would be a big business. I think
if they come here, they have gas. See, gas cylinder loan. Like gas cylinder, because this is India. They are more like us. They're not giving you loans to do PTA. Gas cylinder loans.
Yeah.
Who doesn't use gas cylinder here? Subscription, insurance, fixed deposit, and it's all AI.
Because the consumer, I think Money Point is looking at the consumer space and retail. I think there's so much opportunity. I think for me, if I really want to go into fintech, I'll look at the tax aspect, because see, Nigeria's tax system is still very opaque for the average Nigerian to understand. Even me, that I really have some exposure in finance, sometimes I have to crack my head, So I think anybody that can simplify the present tax laws for the average Nigerian into app will make it kill. And also consumer, like you mentioned.
I'm sorry to go back to this. Is just tripping me up. So look at what they have here: loans for AC, 36% off; for fridge, for TV, for gold, for home, business loan. There's loan on your mutual fund, so you can take your portfolio and say, I want a loan on my portfolio. They have everything. Plus their motorcycles. They still have the motorcycles. They have plot construction loan, transfer home loan, secured loan, commercial property loan, everything. Budget deals, loan on shoe, family insurance. It just goes on and on. New car.
I want to ask you a question. I want to ask you a question.
Go for it, man.
I just want to throw it back to you. Don't you think that, see, when you look at the Indian stock market, for example, it's one of the largest in the world, and you look at what you said, you've seen so many powerful companies listed. If you look at the Nigerian stock market, there's no incentive for listing in the stock market, for example.
Wait, what country?
I'm saying Nigeria, that there's little incentives for listing in the stock market. I remember when the federal government had to make it compulsory for telcos, at some point too. And that was why MTN, because you remember MTN didn't really want to. I remember the story of MTN. So I want to ask you a question. Don't you think we need to go back to a point where major big companies like I know NPC is at some point will have to list to come to our market? Because if you look at the number of companies listed in our market, quality companies, for a population of 224 million, it's embarrassing. In USA don't has. If you look at it, compare the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange, we have more than 8,000 solid companies.
Why do you
I'm not even talking of the small ones. the Russells. I'm not talking of the small ones. So my question to you is that don't you think that the government really need to push, because we have some popular private companies that are not listed and they don't really want to list. And you become to be and I think for me, I think it's a bit selfish, because yes, you have a right to be a private company, but when you're becoming systemic, even in the US, we have private companies that are not listed, But I'm saying that if you are systemic, particularly from a part that you are mixed, like you used to be government owned, now you're like more like you should sell your positions, and even government listed companies so should also sell. I think that will also help. But what do you think?
I think that the focus in Nigeria has shifted, and that's why it's hurting the market participation. We are focusing more on Dangote refinery and not on the SME and the second tier market. Do you know how old second tier market has been in Nigeria? Look at Fela's song. When Fela sang that song, government announced second tier, government contier 2 pieces. That's how long we've had second tier market in Nigeria. Today, is there a second tier market? There's something called the frontier market in the NGX. The growth for the Nigerian market is not Dangote refinery. It is to go to Balogun, Onitsha, Ogun State, Kano, Kaduna, those clusters, and get those guys to list. Create a separate market that you're going to go and you're going to buy high risk but low cap stocks that you can fund their growth. Once you get 5 people in that market and they can show their other traders that listen, oh, I can sell shares, people can invest in my company, I don't have to go to a bank, especially in Nigeria where most of the population don't like bank loans. And you have half of the Nigerian population is Muslim, they don't do riba. That's a big opportunity that we're not chasing in Nigeria. I remember back then we used to have companies like Onwonka High Tech. We used to have Julie Pharmacy. They might not be around today, but there was a push back then to get these companies to be listed. Imagine if we had continued. Many companies, many of these guys you see unlimited that make 50 million naira a month, they can list. Don't make it too exorbitant. America has pink slip markets. You're not in the real New York Stock Exchange, but you are in that small market. If I invest in that market, I know I'm taking on a huge amount of risk, but I have the opportunity to get into a market early. That's where the growth is. Dangote will come and go. He's not interested. He's interested more in UK. But if you can go after Pompai on the Jamaican market, all these guys, if you can go after them, that's where your growth is limited. That's my view. We've left that market to flounder. And many folks, if Rwanda had Onitsha and Pompai, they would have done the market by now. And we'll be saying, oh, Rwanda market is solid. We are looking too much at everybody wants to buy that goes to refinery. Everybody. And if you bring a small tier market that is well structured, now we have computers, we have AI. Why don't you structure a market that is all like a Nasdaq, but it's for SMEs? There's a coffee guy in is it Bauchi also making a lot of money. There are many small SMEs all across Nigeria, all across Lagos, making tons of money. They're not listed because it's too complex, it's too expensive, it's just too much work. Simplify it, get them listed. Let investors put all this money. Nigeria has 10 to 15 billion dollars in dumb accounts sitting there doing nothing. Sitting there doing nothing. So if you can't have a policy that will get the money out of dumb accounts to invest, then what really are we doing in Nigeria? That's only in my view.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah. Well, let's start to close this baby down. I think it's been a fantastic space we've had. I think we've started from just talking about the markets and we've taken ourselves to India, to Dangote, to America. We've really thought a lot this particular space. I just want to say, hey, we should do more of this, have multi-topic events advanced for Nigeria. We have to go back and do what these guys are doing from the base level and then go up. Ajo should be form the foundation for credit and for deposits in Nigeria. Those market women, that should be the foundation, not commercial banks that are talking interest rates and APR and nobody knows them. I told you I went to Lagos and I went to the market in Ojota. There was a guy there collecting money from the women every day. How much does he give you in return? You know what they told me? He don't take a loan. the guy will give them he'll take 1 day of their money. So if they give the guy 200 times 30, I don't take what the guy will take 1 day. The guy charges them to give them a loan. Okay, why not go to the bank that is going to give you money for free? Bank, wahala poju. That's what they were saying. This guy comes to their store, they give you 200 naira, he goes away. To borrow their own money, the guy will charge them to borrow their own money. This is real life. Where I saw the guy, this was Jota Market, this was 2 years ago. Why are the Nigerian banks, or not even the banks, Nigerian SMEs or the mutual or the microfinance banks, not doing what that guy is doing? No, they're in AC office. Then we hear interest rates are going to go up to mop up capital. Which capital are you mopping up? That guy's capital that is taken from the market to get. There is no correlation. That's why when Buhari changed Naira currency, you saw lots of Naira, old Naira packed up like this. It's not the system. We are leaving money on the table. Those women, if those women were in India, they will get credit. They are making sales. Whether it's 1K a day, they are making sales. So what you need is to group those women together or individually as a group, as a cooperative, and you give them a loan. They don't need 1 billion. They need 10,000. You give them 10,000, they'll give you back 11,000 at the end of the day. That's how they sell. We're not doing it. We're very, very Nigeria. We like flashy, AC, car. I'm a banker. But we're not going to the market. And we've got to take this thing back to the base level. 50% of Nigerians do not have a bank account. Less than 5% of Nigerians have gotten a bank loan from a bank since 1960. This stat I'm giving you, go and fact check me. Less than 5% of Nigerians have gotten a loan from a bank. They can get from non-banking, but from a bank. How can you want to get the $1 trillion economy where 50% don't have a bank account and less than 10% have ever gotten a bank loan? It's not going to work.
And I've not gotten a loan in Nigeria. In fact,
loan.
When the banks offered me, when the banks offered me, I felt it was weird because culturally, like you said, so you're totally.
We've got to go back down in the culture. Yeah. We got to put our too many banker people are doing fancy words. I know all these words. They are using fancy words and they wear suits. We've got to go back down. I saw what's those banks that we call the small banks, microfinance bank was doing road project. I tweeted it. Why is a microfinance bank doing road project? Why? So we need to, if you want to create a bank where you say the cap of the bank is going to be 10 million, they can only lend to women and artisans only 10 million. You only be your street or your local or your whatever, do that. But this microfinance bank, they've lost the plot. They are chasing deposits and loans and treasury bills. That's not where the economy is. The economy is still at the SME level, not just SME, nano SME. That's where Nigeria is. We don't need. Dangote is okay. If he wants to get $1 billion today, he can get $1 billion today. But the woman that is bringing in okra from mile 12 in K2, she brings it to Ojota, then she gets a bag of okra. When I was in market, that bag of okra is 15,000. In that bag of okra, she can make bags. She makes the smaller bags. She sells the smaller bags. Her total profit for that day is 70,000. So she makes 2,000. The bag is 15. When she takes that bag and removes the okra, puts it in smaller bags and sells them, she makes 70. So she makes 2K. Now, in that bag, there's wastage. The top and the bottom are always burnt. So there's only wastage. That woman needs 100K. Because when you go to buy the okra, if you can buy more, they give you a discount. So if she can buy 3 bags, she can buy those 3 bags for 10K and still sell for 70K and make 7K. That's banking. That's banking. You go to that woman, you give her a loan, you say, you don't have collateral. We're going to use your revenues as collateral. The woman will not run away. Run away to where now? If she runs away, where will she get money to do trade tomorrow? Where? She will not run in. She will go buy that 3 bags, sell it, and give that boy that comes to that store that 200 naira that she has made. If we can get that right, Olumide, this stock trading you're talking about Nigeria will just boom, because now you have
what you just said now, even what you just said, it will compound
savings,
capital markets,
credit,
the middle class population. I think, see, because that is.
I'm coming back to Nigeria. I'm going to go back to the same market. I was in the market for the entire day. I changed. I went to guys changing dollar. I interviewed them. Where they get it, I went to the guy selling meat. I interviewed him. I did the whole. I didn't go to factory. I went to the market. This year I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to the east. I'm going to go. I want to get. That's the economy. So when I go on Twitter, these people are telling me GDP per capita is going up, that foreign reserve is going up. I'm talking from experience. I have done the banking. I have done private banking in Nigeria. I've done asset. I know these things, and I'm going to the market. You can't tell me you can't tell these things to me. So to the government, let me just end with the government side. You've got to really, really leave all these people speaking English to you. Tinubu came from the streets. He understands trading. He understands market women. He can evaporate poverty if he focuses on the microeconomy. Microeconomy. This macro thing that CBN has 51 billion reserves, and so what? Nigerian trade is 20 billion, and so what? Inflation is 50%, and so what? You go to buy food in Nigeria, you see people that tell they don't eat meat. They take crayfish, boil with rice, it becomes crayfish jollof. They eat it like that. I attended that guy that inflation has come down from 22% to 70%. And what?
And that is why we have a low
consumption. Nobody's consuming.
Even life expectancy.
According to Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, according to Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, we are at 99% fall off in consumption. This is 2024.
Can you know when we were young? Pick milk, even average middle class home, pick milk was like a standard. It doesn't. But now, when you speak to the average Nigerian, they ration protein, and that is why I said that. See, we have to be honest with ourselves. Yes, we are the youngest, but we die quickly. The average Nigerian does not live longer than people in Niger Republic.
New York Times.
The average Japanese lives twice.
Let's not end on the bad to them. Let's say what actually. See, New York Times did a story on Nigeria. I think it was 2023. I forget the year, where they said there's a rare form of calcium deficiency that they have found in Nigeria because we're not taking milk in Nigeria, calcium. New York Times. But how many people in Nigeria drink milk, eat eggs, eat meat? How many people? We were talking about sports last week, about Nigeria failing to qualify for the World Cup. And a guy came on the space and he said there's a correlation between when England started to play good football, English Premiership, and meat consumption. He said when the Premiership started and they started to make money, more boys in England now had to go and start eating meat and milk because they wanted to play the Premiership. So the number of fridges, milk, meat consumption in the UK went up because they wanted to go play the Premiership.
I won't even disagree, Kalu. Look at this World Cup, Kalu. You know this guy that plays in Man City? What's his name? Haaland. His country, Norway. You need to see the food they brought to the US. They don't even trust the meals of the
that's not funny. It's funny to say we're being negative. We're just talking economics. We're talking economics.
I'm just saying,
that's a great question. We've got to get the economy down to the micro level. The economy has to be at the micro level. Right now, the economy is at the macro level, where we're talking macro indices, and we're trying to use macro indices to say the country is doing well. I am the first. If you look at my Twitter feed, I support the removal of fuel subsidies. I support the role of the peg on dollar on the
no,
I fully support it, and I'm taking a lot of hit for it. I'm not against any. I'm not a political guy. The president has done well in stabilizing the macro. On my Twitter feed, I have said it, and people have attacked me. But we have to go from stability to growth. You can't eat GDP. People have to eat. Then they can produce productivity. Those are the key words I just need to understand. Productivity, consumption. That's just to stop there. Productivity and consumption. Once we understand these two,
consumption is because people cannot even go when they
people think consumption is bad. People say, you'll tell you have to go for production. No, if you don't consume, that's when it's bad.
Yes.
Any economy that's not consuming is dying. Look at Japan. They have infrastructure. They are not consuming. The economy is going down. That's Japan.
Even in China,
China.
They're begging people
they are going down.
To spend. They're begging people to spend.
There is nothing wrong with consumption. The problem is that we are importing the consumption with borrowed money. That's the problem. Not the consumption, but the imported borrowed money. That's what's wrong.
South Africa has a population of 56 million people. Nigeria has 224. South Africans eat good food far more than Nigeria. If you look at the food they bring into their country and look at what Nigeria consumes,
that's why they want you to go back to your country. Go back. That's why they want you to go back. I mean, Nigeria is too rich for this. So we hope and we pray. We're in elections. Next year's budget will be nonsense across the board, from federal, state. Look at it will be nonsense. So we just pray that the country can get it right. We have too many smart people in the country to be struggling for food and all that. So whoever you support, whoever you money is still naira is still there. In my language, you say money has no name. It doesn't have name. If you are PDP, APC, Labour, the money you hold in your hand, it will listen to you, whoever you are. We need to be richer. Go for it.
And actually, I think for my closing, for Nigerians that are really exposed in the market, I think one good thing for us is that the naira stability has made it less worrisome for us to be worried about devaluation.
Okay.
Cardoso has really done a good job on bringing integrity on our monetary side. You can't take that away. So I think less Nigerians are worried about, should I invest in dollar? That argument has really subsided. I think what Kalu is saying now, I think that's really going to make Nigeria. If we can really fix these issues that are highlighted, don't be surprised if the stock market goes ×3. Because right now, if you look at Q1, for example, 500,000 people opened Nigerian stock account. Just imagine in your sense that by the next, before the end of the decade, we have 5 million people trading Nigerian stocks. 5 million more people. Do you know what that means to your portfolio? So I think for us, policymakers and people that really make decisions, they need to throw in liquidity to the average Nigerian. It's really affecting everybody. If Nigeria's economic consumption can grow by even 20-30%, Dangote is well to be child's play to its present level. So I think it's a win for everybody. Thank you, Kalu.
Thank you, Lumia. Just last one again. If we're talking policy and wealth creation, let's not forget land reform. Land reform. So many Nigerians are land and asset rich and cash poor. Mr. President, you control the presidency, the House of Governors, you control the Senate, you control the House of Reps. Most people accuse you of controlling the judiciary. Use this power and reform the Land Use Act. There are trillions trapped because farmers have land, cannot convert that land to collateral to get loans. No Nigerian bank is lending money to farmers. The way farmers worldwide make money to farm is future sales of produce or collateralizing land. They get the money, they plant, they repay. Cycle, repeat. Focus on land reform, sir. That's going to be a bigger legacy for you than Coastal Road. If you can reform land in Nigeria and Nigerians across the country can collateralize their assets to get cash to invest in land, that's agriculture, the largest contributor to the GDP by a mile. The largest employer of labor is the largest contributor on GDP. You can double the GDP just from passing a policy, which is land reform. Lumide, thanks so much for being here. I always appreciate you coming in to talk with us. Guys, thanks for being with us here. YouTube guys, love you guys as well. Sorry we went off on a tangent, but it's all economics, right? It's all economics. So I think you guys have all learned to totally agree with you. So, yeah, fantastic. You guys have a good